In this full guide, I'm going to give you 7 principles that I've learned over my 20 years of living that will help you live the most exciting and freeing life as possible. I spent a lot of time thinking about the specifics of these, and they're not just some surface level points like all the other videos out there. That's why this video is over an hour long. So take out a notepad, put this video on full screen, and play it from start to finish, and that'll get you the best results. I hope you enjoy. Okay, welcome to the life philosophy course. First off, I applaud you. You could have been doing anything else with your time right now. You could have been playing video games, smoking, drinking, doing drugs, but you're choosing to pursue your education, the things that school won't teach you. And I think the best way for us to learn those things that school doesn't teach us, the real world things, is to have a community of people who are like-minded and to learn from each other's mistakes. And because everyone's different, but if you find your own community who you have the same values with and you think the same way, someone who made a mistake can probably save you from making that same mistake since they're similar to you. So this community and this course is just going to be that, because you're probably similar to I am, and these are just the lessons that I've learned over the years. This is the first volume. There's going to be a lot more I'm going to add to this, but yeah, and I don't want you to take everything I say as absolute. Obviously, we're all different, so just take what feels helpful, discard the rest, and yeah, I'm going to hopefully help you to live life in a way where you can truly be free and you don't have any regrets and or guilt. And when you're on your deathbed, you can be there laying down and you're like, I think I lived a satisfying life and I'm happy. I have no regrets. And that's the point I want to get you to. So yeah, thank you for joining this program, and go ahead and click on the next module and we can get started. Okay, this module is called Live with an Open Heart, Even If It Hurts. And it's the first one. I think it's the most important one. So if this is the only one you watch and your computer blows up somehow in the next 10 minutes, then make it this one. So basically, this is all about how you can go through life. It's a philosophy of life where you don't have any permanent depression or anxiety, because it just doesn't affect you, because you just accept what comes to you and accept that you can't change anything. It's not to say that, all right, I'm just going to accept that I'm depressed and I'm going to stay depressed, but it's a philosophy where outside circumstances can't hurt you, similar to Stoicism. So this is me and my friend. He's like 6'5", so I'm not, okay, well, I'm kind of short, but I'm not a midget. But anyway, the first lesson is never suppress yourself. So this is probably the biggest lesson, but it's also one of the hardest to implement, because it sounds easy in theory. You're like, okay, this sounds fine, easy, I'm gonna just do that. If I want to say something, then I'll say it. If I want to do something, I do it. And if I like someone, I'll tell them. If I want to end a relationship or friendship, then I'll say it. But in reality, when other people come into the mix, it's a lot harder. So let's say like you're with a group of friends and you're all deciding where you want to go eat or something, and let's say you have this great idea. You're like, okay guys, hey, we should go to Chipotle, or at least you think that in your head, but everyone else is saying like, where should we eat? I don't really want anything like Mexican food or Chipotle or something. So then you're like, oh well, I guess I can't even mention my opinion because some random guy just said he doesn't feel like Chipotle, so I'm just gonna stay quiet and not say anything and let the group decide how my life is gonna go. And if you keep doing this, even in that small situation, it's gonna translate to bigger scenarios, and you're gonna find that you always suppress yourself because you don't want to offend other people. You don't want to make them think, okay, this guy's rude, I just said I don't like this, but then he suggested it anyway. Then that's just going to keep happening when you go through life. It's going to happen for the big decisions. Like, let's say you're trying to quit your job because you really want to pursue something else, but then you go to your boss and you're like, okay, boss, I'm kind of thinking about quitting, if that would be okay with you, but if it's not, then I'm going to stay. And your boss is like, actually, well, we need you. I'll raise your pay by an extra $20 a year. And you're like, oh, well, they need me, so I guess I have to stay. And then you just stay for another 5-10 years, and before you know it, you're old and you've worked the same job your whole life, and then you get arthritis and then you die. That's just what a terrible way to live. So suppressing yourself is probably the most common problem, or one of the most common problems I have or had, and I still have, but it's getting a lot better. But just go through life with other people and voice your opinion, be honest, because the worst that can happen is they're going to say, well, nah, I think that's stupid of you to say. And once they say that, okay, then what? Like, obviously it might hurt a little, it might sting, but then what? Your life goes on, they forget about it, you forget about it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Even something as big as the job switch, you're like, oh, this could affect the whole course of my life, and this company, like, they need me, I do such good work here, my boss says that he cares so much about me. He doesn't care about you. They could replace you in a week, in 2 days if they wanted. Like, people who aren't your super close friends or close family, like, honestly, they don't need you, like, at all. Even if they say it, if you're not super close with them, if you don't have that real connection that you can just intuitively feel, then you're not that important to them. And that's both scary but freeing at the same time. It's freeing because you can be like, okay, now I can walk through the world. If I embarrass myself in front of this random person, if I say something and it's cringe, well, they don't really care. And since I'm not close with them either, I don't care either. Like, there was some things like that I've said in college to this like guy, like made a joke, and then he didn't really like laugh at it. He just looked kind of annoyed, and then he kind of looked away, and then I was like, oh my god, like I offended him so much. And then like I went back to my dorm and I just kept thinking about that, like, oh, why did I say that? And it was so insignificant. Like, it was just this random dude. Like, sometimes I see him like when I'm walking on campus. Well, I'm home now for summer, but I used to see him walking on campus, and then he would just like, we'd make eye contact and do the little head nod thing. And I realized, like, it's not that bad. Like, if he truly hated me, like, he would just completely ignore me and like give me a dirty look. But no, he's still chill with me. So in that moment, I thought that that joke would be funny, but obviously he didn't think it was funny. Maybe some other person would think it was funny, but who cares? I still said it. And if I had the power to, completely unsuppress myself, like, I wouldn't have gone through that like whole like night of like, oh my god, why did I say that? Like, that's so embarrassing. I'm so cringe. And if I just had that mindset to, not suppress myself, and like, it's okay because I felt that that was the most, natural thing to do, then it's fine. Like, you don't have to stress so much about every little thing and, be caught up on what you say. And even with these examples, like, if you say, oh my god, like, I really like this person, like, I really want to say that I like you, but you never do it. You just wait months and you're trying to play the strategy game. You're like, okay, you're coping, and you say, all right, I'm gonna first get to know them, and then I'm gonna slowly integrate myself into their social circle, and then I'm gonna say it in like 8 months when they don't even realize I exist anymore. Just don't overthink it. Just get to know them and just outright say it, because that's how you're truly gonna live freely, because you're holding in that suppression, that feeling of desire, and it's just gonna multiply and grow every single day, and you're gonna start suffering. So this method is kind of like releasing your energy, because if you have, all right, you have this desire, and oh, you're embarrassed about this thing, all of that energy is gonna start getting pent up inside you, but you never release it because you're always suppressing yourself, and that just leads to a terrible life full of anxiety, and your health will deteriorate. So just say it, release that pent up energy, and go through life feeling like, I'm free. I can say and do whatever I want, and there's not going to be terrible consequences if I do. So this is another story. This is called this module, "The World is Beautiful. It's also insufferable sometimes." So I had this class. It was on Leo Tolstoy. If you don't know who he is, he's a Russian writer. He was alive in like the 1700s, I think. And he was at one point like the most famous person or writer in the world at one time. And this was his very last book. So Tolstoy, all of his books, he wrote to try and figure out what the best way to live life was. And so when he was young, like he first wrote about this book. It was called Childhood, Boyhood, Youth. And basically he had his own ideas when he was like 18 about the best way to live life and like the importance of your mother and family and all that. But every book he changed his philosophy of life, and he was like, all right, this is the way that people should live. And he posted that book, and it was up to the public to kind of determine whether he was right or not. And over time, he kind of went crazy. He's like, not crazy, but he started having more radical ideas, and who's to say they're wrong or right. But if you're interested in that, you can go study up on Tolstoy. But Haji Murad right here, this was his very last book. So before, he would be writing about, okay, the most important thing is marriage, and you need to find someone who you truly connect with, and that is the most important bond like in the world. And then he later like changed that, and he was like, well, marriage doesn't actually work because, you know, there's always going to be people who you like later on, and then you're never going to have a pure marriage. So then he transitioned to, all right, religion, that's the most important thing, and you can't do anything that will impede on this religion. And Christianity, like this part, the most of Christianity is useless, like only some of it. And he kind of made his own version of Christianity, and he was like, all right, so you have to be locked away from people, because when you're with people, you start acting. And by acting, I mean, like, let's say, I don't know, you're singing a song, like you're alone in your room and you're just nodding your head and singing along to a song, and then like your mom comes in. Are you gonna keep continuing that song while you talk to her and like singing it? No, you're like, oh, I'm a little bit embarrassed. So you act, and then you put on that like cool, like, oh, I was just listening to a song, I wasn't singing because that's embarrassing. So by acting, that's what he means. Like when other people are watching you, that's when you put on a mask to fit into society. And we all do it. Like in society, like I'll be walking to some place, and then I'll realize, oh wait, it's the other direction. But then I'll keep walking in that same direction to make sure, like, okay, wait, is anyone looking? Because if I just turn around right now, people might think I'm weird. But again, that's going back to the previous slide. It's the same thing of suppressing yourself. You want to go back to the other direction because that's where you're actually trying to go. But yet you keep walking forward to like try to make sure, all right, when am I going to turn so that the least amount of people are looking? Okay, 3, 2, 1 now. And then you turn around. You had that thought before. You're like, I'm going the wrong way. But still, you continue to walk in that same direction because you're acting for people, because you don't want to seem like the odd one out. And people are maybe watching you, and you just randomly turn around and they'll think, oh, this guy's kind of weird. But again, that's suppressing yourself. So again, I kind of got off track, but Haji Murad, this was his last book, and this was his final life, Tolstoy's final like life philosophy, what he thought people should go through life and live. And it's honestly like, it was the most vague and mysterious, but I think it hits the hardest. So on the last day, my teacher, we usually kind of had a discussion. This was back like 2024, but the last day we had our finals soon, so he had to just lecture this whole book because we were kind of behind. So the last day he came in, and he was kind of sick. He had like his voice was, he kind of lost his voice, so it was kind of low and raspy. So the whole class he was lecturing, it was like an hour and a half, and his voice was like, and this is the philosophy of it. It was like super deep, but it was honestly like one of the most interesting and profound classes that I've ever taken, because I left that class thinking, wow, that's deep. And basically Tolstoy's final life philosophy was that no matter what happens in life, no matter what God throws at you, the only thing you can do is just accept it without complaint. No matter how terrible it is, no matter how terrible you feel and how injured you are, the only thing you can do is accept that, well, God, I thank you that you created me, that you created this world. There are many beautiful things. There are also many terrible things in this world. And no matter what you do to me, I just accept anything that comes to me. And I think that's a very powerful way to go through life. At the end of the story, Haji Murad, he's the main character. And he was on the run. He was I kind of forget the context, but he was like a soldier and he was trying to find his like family or something. Like he got taken by some I don't know, evil government people, and then he was on the run and he had his group of his friends. They were trying to escape, but then at the final moments, like they were overcrowded, they were like in this ditch, and like so many more soldiers were coming out, and they're like, come on, like come out, like there's nothing you can do now. And Haji Murad, he knew in his mind, like, yeah, this is the end, I'm going to die here. But what did he do? He just accepted it, and he didn't just lay there and like, all right, I'm done. He was like, you know what, even though I'm gonna die, I'm still gonna live freely and not suppress myself and live how I would be living. So he loaded up his rifle, he shot, he hid back in the ditch, and then his friend, like, he died. His friend, just his dead body collapses right in front of him. And Haji Imran looks at his friend, he's like, well, I accept that this is what's happening. This is what life is. This is what God has given me, and I accept it. So he loads back up his rifle, shoots, and he gets shot, and like he has like bullet wounds all over him, but yet he's still trying to load his gun. All he does, he gets a cloth, just covers up the bullet wound. He accepts it. It's like, yeah, I'm dead, but what else can I do? And he still tries to fight, and to the very last moment, he fights to the death, and he dies at the end. But he was completely just free. He didn't have any sense of regret on his face. Like when they chopped his head off, they held his head, and he just looked so at peace. And I think it's such a powerful way to go about life, just accepting anything that comes to you. And yeah, I have a recording of the whole class. It's pretty long, but I mean, if anyone's interested, I could show that to you guys. It's kind of long, and you might not get the context because it's a semester of like Tolstoy's beliefs and all that. But yeah, if you're interested, I'll maybe post it. And finally, follow your intuition. Do what you believe is right. Like everything that we've talked about, that we've led up to, don't cope. Just don't be this guy taking copium every day. Do what you think is truly right. Don't like say, all right, well, this, like, there's two decisions I can make. Like, let's say I could either, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say I could either try to befriend this person who is, he's kind of a loner. Doesn't really talk to as many people, and he doesn't really have many friends. So should I try to befriend him, or should I just ignore him? And the two sides of your intuition, you're like, well, wait, what am I actually trying to friend him for? Is it because I genuinely care about him, and I want to give him some sense of friendship? Or is it because, well, if I befriend him, and he'll probably become my friend because he doesn't have any friends, and that'll feed my ego? So just like think about which one is it. Don't cope and be like, well, I'm gonna friend him because I genuinely care about him. But if you don't even care about him and you still try to do it, then there's a line there. It's like, well, are you actually trying to be nice to this person, or are you just doing something to feed your ego? So trust your intuition. I think for that example, it was kind of a weird and poor example, but most people, I think, have good hearts, and they'll see that and be like, okay, well, I'm truly trying to help this person. I'm not just doing it because I want something from him. Maybe he's kind of rich and maybe he'll give me some money. Like, don't follow that part of your mind and be like, okay, I'm hiding the fact that I want money from this person to the fact that he doesn't have any friends, I'll go and be his friend because I'm a nice person. Just don't do that. But yeah, that's the lesson for this. Live with an open heart, even if it hurts. Just, even if you do something and it seems cringe to other people, but you think it's cool, just do it. Like this jacket that I'm wearing, some people have said, oh my God, you look like a I don't even know what they said. Like, it's like way too big on you. You just look like a box. But I'm like, oh, I like this jacket. I think it's cool. So I wear it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's the most important lesson you should take away from this. with an open heart, even if it hurts. Okay, this module is called Never Stay in the Middle. And if you do stay in the middle, you're like this person. You're the well actually guy. Did you know the sun is 94 million miles away from the earth? Well, actually, it's 93.8 million miles away. You should know that. And these people, they're technically right. They're like factually correct. Like you can't even dispute them. But it's just, you don't want to be one of these people. And I, for the longest time, was this person, and I kind of still am, but I'm learning to try to get out of that mindset. So by staying in the middle, I mean never fully committing to a decision you make or something you believe in, because you're like, well, there's always like dilemmas and there's always variations of a decision, so nothing is absolute. And yeah, I think I would say that's factually correct, but do you really want to live like that and not stand for anything in your life? Be sure of absolutely nothing because you're technically correct in saying that. Like the statement, it's bad to kill innocent people. And I think most people in the world would agree with that statement. But then if you're this guy, you would start overthinking and say, well, if you could travel back in time, and then some people like Hitler, they're not innocent, so you should have killed Hitler when he was little. And like, okay, bro, sure, that's correct. But why are you even bringing that up? That's just, you're just trying to seem right. You're trying to seem like that statement, it's bad to kill innocent people, isn't absolute. Even though if you just adopt that it's absolute, like, because it pretty much is, then you'll have a much simpler life. You'll go through life and you'll just be more liked by people and you'll have peace of mind. So don't be the well actually guy, because you're going to end up like this. You're going to have so much information in your brain that's just nothing is sure. Like, oh, what should I eat today? Well, someone said online that like this food, bananas are really healthy for you. But then I read this article the other day that said bananas are kind of bad for you because they'll increase your fat in your body. So I'm never going to eat a banana again. And like, oh, but they're kind of healthy. And then you kind of just debate it. You have the banana in your hand and you're like, oh, should I eat it? Should I not? And then you just go crazy. And that happens with every single decision that you make. And again, this is something that I struggle with because of that constant overthinking part of me in my brain. It's just, I can't like decide what I actually am going to commit to, and it's terrible. So I'm working on that. But I'm sure maybe you've seen this guy. He's like on a bunch of YouTube ads, and then you see him like hanging on this pole at a bar, or like, I'm about to jump in this pool, and then he has like a pizza in his hand, and he's like, guys, did you know that the best diet is not carnivore, it's not paleo, it's not keto? And he lists every single diet, and he's like, I can eat this pizza and stay shredded. And then it's just, if you watch that, you're like, wait, he just said all of the diets are bad, so then what's the real diet? And then you start doing research on that, and you're like, wait a minute, the paleo diet, that's like the caveman diet, so if I only eat natural foods, yeah, that's good. But then this guy just said it's not the best diet. And then you just have this like ADHD just mindset. You can't even decide anything, when in reality, if you just pick a diet and you go to the gym, you'll get shredded. Like, it's just as simple as that. There's no one like best diet, because it just matters on, oh, okay, maybe there is. I'm being the absolute guy. Well, technically there is the one best diet, but okay, how are you going to figure that out? I don't know it. Like, I don't think there's any scientific way to completely prove that this is the best diet for every single human in the world. But going back to my point, if you were to just choose something, stick to it, go to the gym, you would get shredded. It's like, just pick something and commit to it. It's not hard. I mean, okay, maybe it is hard for some people, but if you just pick something, that's how you're going to make progress in life, not staying in the middle, being like, okay, well, maybe this diet is the best. Okay, then you kind of shift over to a different diet, but then you shift over back. And it's just that constant cycle of, what can I do to optimize every single thing? And another example of this, like I had when I do my workout, it's like the incline dumbbell bench press, And then for like a week, I was debating, okay, should the bench be at 30 degrees or should it be at 45 degrees? Because 45 degrees, well, that hits more of your shoulders. But then 30 degrees, the internet says it hits more of your upper chest. So then I just kept switching it back and forth like an idiot. Like, okay, today I'll try 30. Okay, so yeah, 30 is better. I want to hit upper chest. No, wait, 45 is better because I want to also hit my shoulders. And it was just so stupid. And I just kept changing it around where I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to pick one. So I just picked 45 degrees because that's just what kind of felt nicer for me and it was easier to control. And now I'm just sticking with 45 degrees. And yeah, it sounds really stupid. You debated for a week whether to put your bench at 30 degrees versus 45 degrees. But yeah, I'm sure if you're an overthinker, you can relate to that. It's just that constant cycle of, oh my God, I can't pick what thing is the best because I have all this information inside my head. I just can't stick with something. But my advice to you again is never stay in the middle, because that's how you're just going to you're going to be this guy. And once you adopt this mindset and you start being more assertive with what you want, you stop staying in the middle and you just go down a path, even if it might be wrong. Like, people are going to criticize you. They're going to laugh at you and be like, you keep changing your mind. Last week you said that this was your value, but now you've completely changed. Like, you can't even make up your mind. And if you're like 60, 70 years old and you're still like debating that, then okay, maybe that's an error on your part. But chances are that if you're watching this, if you're like me, you're a young guy, you're maybe in your teens or 20s, and you know nothing about the world. So if people say, oh my God, how are you changing your mind so much? Like, bro, you're a literal child. I'm a literal child. Like, it's not that deep. Like, we're still trying to figure out the world. They don't have the self-awareness and critical thinking skills to realize people change their mind. They're like, they laugh at you for changing your mind. And then it's like, okay, you ask them, have you ever been wrong in your entire life? And then they're like, yeah, well, duh. And then you say, okay, well, I guess I was wrong. And I think I was wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But this is what I'm following right now. This is what works for me. And then they can't say anything because they're like, oh, wait, if I just had thought about that a little bit more for an extra 10 seconds, maybe that I wouldn't have laughed at them. But yeah, there's just people who criticize you for changing your mind, especially at this young age. They're just like, have low IQ. Just don't even listen to them, because find what works for you. If that means testing every single thing, but never stay in the middle. If you have 20 options for the best, chocolate flavor to pick, and you have like 30 minutes to pick the best one, are you going to be the person that's like, all right, reading the ingredients, all right, this one, wait, this is mint, so maybe I kind of like mint, and then you read the cookies and cream, oh, I like cookies and cream. You go down each of them, and you just look at them, and then you make your decision at the, final minute mark, and you're just like, all right, I think it's this one, and then you try it, and it's not even that good. Whereas if you just, all right, I'm just going to turn off my brain. I'm going to eat this one. All right, try this one, a little part of each. And I'm like, all right, which one did I like the best? It was probably this one. And then you're just done in way less time, and you have like the correct decision. So go down the path, even if you think it's wrong. Don't be afraid. With the chocolate example, oh, I can't eat this chocolate because it might taste bad. So I'm trying to find the best one. So I'm going to look at all the ingredients and see which one is the best. No, just taste it and you'll be so much better. Like, go down the path without looking. Just commit, and you'll be way better. You'll have peace of mind, and you won't have like anxiety. So this happened to me. I've been like debating this religion dilemma. Like, I want to start learning more about religion, as I'm, a philosophy major. So religion is a big concept in there. And I was like, all right, well, if I had to choose one, there's the big three, there's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Well, I guess my plan of action, I'm gonna read each of the books, and then I'm gonna decide, all right, what is the best for me based on all the things in the books. And did I read all the books? No. Am I gonna read all the books? Probably not. But I debated that, and I was like, I can't identify with one, because like I need to be right on this. I need to know which one is right. And I thought about it more. I was like, okay, am I ever going to have definitive proof that, this is the right religion? Probably not. Maybe if I'm like holding the Bible up and I'm like, okay, God, strike this Bible with lightning in 3, 2, 1, and then a massive lightning bolt comes down and hits the Bible, then okay, yeah, maybe that'll be definitive proof. But that hasn't happened yet. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I was just debating this, and I was like, oh, I can't. Which one should I do? And then, recently I was just like, you know what? It doesn't even, like, I'm not making any progress. So I just chose the Bible because that's what feels like closest to me and most familiar. And I'm just gonna identify with that, go down that hole, and like, commit to that, and not worry about, oh, what if this one is right and what if the other one is right. I'm just gonna see how it feels. I'm gonna commit to this, learn about it, read the Bible, and I'm gonna, like, just commit to it. I'm not going to stay in the middle and be like, all right, well, Islam says this about this topic and the Bible is something different. So if I critically think and use my thinking skills, well, actually, this one doesn't match up. And it's just a terrible way to live. Like, honestly, it might sound cool because you're technically correct, but let me tell you, it's just your ego speaking, because your ego wants to be correct all of the time. And if you say nothing in absolutes, if you're like, well, the economy is bad because of this reason, but it could also be this reason and this reason and this reason, this reason, this reason, and because of this reason and because of this external factor, but then all of that might be wrong because of this other reason, and you encompass literally everything, yeah, technically you're correct, but you didn't even say anything. You just said the economy is bad because it was bad because anything could have happened. That's basically what you said. You made no definitive statement. And if people don't critically think, they're like, oh my God, this guy is so smart. Like, he just listed the truth. But then if you think about what he just said about the economy, he didn't say anything because he said this could be right, or this could be right, or this could be right, or they could all be wrong. And then that's his answer. That means literally nothing. So this is honestly like one of the biggest, I think maybe the second most important lesson in this whole course. Never stay in the middle, because it's just going to lead you to thinking that you're this smart, super intelligent guy because you're always right. But you're just stuck in the middle. You're not actually saying anything. You have no true values. You don't believe anything for yourself. And you're just going to have a midlife crisis and go crazy because you don't even believe anything. You're going to turn into this guy because you have nothing that you actually believe in. You don't even know who you are. And then, yeah, you're just going to go crazy. So biggest lesson, never stay in the middle. Don't be the well actually guy. Yeah, that's the end of this module. Okay, this module is called Bad is Temporary. This is going to be kind of a shorter one, but it's also pretty important. So on the picture on the left, we have a massive storm, and on the picture on the right, we have a beautiful sunset. And when you're suffering, you can think of it as a storm going on inside your head. There's a bunch of lightning, it's chaos, and it feels terrible. You don't know what's going to happen. Maybe your house will get ripped off and flown into a tornado. And then when you're at peace, your mind looks like this. It's just calm, serene. You're eating a nice meal. You're drinking some coffee. You're talking with a trusted friend. It's just all nice. And when people are in this storm state, what are their normal thoughts? Well, they're like, this is terrible. This feels so bad. Am I ever going to escape this? My life is just going to be like this for the rest of time. I'm not going to get anywhere. I'm such a terrible person. But then literally like 3 hours later, they're fine, and they just forget all about that all their thoughts that they had, the temporary or permanent, I'm going to be suffering forever. And they just go back to this peaceful state of mind. But then maybe they drop back to this, and then, it's a cycle that keeps continuing. And let me tell you, it's just the normal cycle of life. That's just how we're wired. That's how nature is. It goes from storms to sunsets, beautiful skies, and back to storms. And that's just going to keep happening over your lifetime. And when you're suffering, there's a lot of thoughts going on in your mind. You're like, oh my gosh, no one else is probably suffering this much, or no one else is overthinking as much as I am. And that may be true, or it may not be true. And it's probably not, because there are 8.5 billion people in the world. And many of them are in way worse conditions than you are right now. Like, there's missiles being dropped on their heads right now. But again, if you're in this storm state, then just know that there's nothing wrong with you. People like to like exacerbate their condition and tell everyone, yeah, it's been really hard for me. It's been hard for me personally. And the other person is like, oh yeah, I bet it is. Nice. And then like it's just kind of awkward because they're like, yeah, it's been really hard for me. Like I don't know what to do. There's so many things I can't do, and then I'm just going crazy. And then the other person just like, yeah. But again, that's completely normal. Like I want to ingrain that inside your head. When you're feeling in this storm state, it's completely normal. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you, no matter how bad it is. I mean, I guess there's a line if you're suicidal, but I'm guessing that if you're not suicidal, then there's nothing wrong with you because suffering is just a normal part of life. And when you get back to this sunset state, then you kind of forget all of the thoughts that you had. Oh my God, this is terrible, because it's just normal. You don't have to beat yourself up for it. You don't have to compare yourself to other people. Look how happy everyone else is, because chances are they're going to go through the same storm sooner or later, because it's just a cycle. Everyone has this constant cycle that's going to continue, and some people have longer cycles of this sunset, and some people have most of their cycles in the storm. But the cycle itself is normal. And within that, I'm not saying that, all right, if you're most of your cycle, 99% of it is you feeling terrible and 1% is you feeling okay, then I'm not just saying, all right, that's how you are. That's how you're going to live the rest of your life, and there's nothing you can do about it. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with that, because that's the cycle you're in. Now, there's nothing wrong with it, but you can do things to mitigate that and alleviate the pain. And the best thing to do is just fix your mental health. It's to find a purpose that you really want to wake up for and you're excited to do. It's to find people surrounded by you who you can truly be yourself with. It's to fix relationships with your family. Like there's so much progress that can be made, but most people see that progress as a burden, that they don't want to do it because they're stuck in this cycle. But if you try to see it as a game, something you can achieve levels on, like, all right, level 8, fix my relationship with my father, like it'll just get more fun, and you'll start to have more cycles of the sunset, beautiful life variation of yourself. And I think that's the way that you want to live. Again, the final lesson that I want to seal with you is that there's nothing wrong with you if you're in a storm and you're constantly in a storm. That just means that there's work you can do, but again, you're fine. That's normal. It's completely normal. People have been through worse, and it's freeing because you know that, all right, it's terrible right now, but you know what? I'm gonna make it better. I'm gonna get back to this beautiful way of seeing life, and it's gonna be great. So that's the lesson for today. Bad is temporary. Okay, this module is called Learn to Say No and Yes. So when we hear this phrase, it's almost always learn to say no to people. And I think that's an important trait to have, but I think for the people who are more like us, if you're in this community, like the introverted, overthinking kind of people, I think learning to say yes is actually more important. So I'm just going to go over this learn to say no really quickly. Basically, there's not really a trick that you can just do, but it's just exposure therapy. It's just force yourself to say no to more people if you want to say no, obviously. But just the little things like, hey, you want to help me or go out and get this drink with me really quick? And then if you're working on something, you're like, actually, I can't right now, I'm busy, but I'd love to some other time. And that's practice for saying no, and that'll translate over to the big decisions like, hey, do you want to sell me this company for 50 million and you want it for 80 million, but you're like, well, I don't really want to offend this guy because he's been nice to me. Okay, 50 million it is. And then you just lost $30 million. So learning to say no is definitely important. It can cost you a lot in the future. But learning to say yes is something completely different. It's something most people don't talk about. So here's a picture of 2 kids in class, and here's my face on the back one. And this was me, and it kind of still is me. I've always been the person who doesn't really like outwardly like participate because I've always had that fear of, oh, I don't want to say anything wrong. And that's still with me. And I know that's a flaw because the only way you're going to learn is if you're not afraid to put yourself out there and not be afraid of being incorrect. So that's something I've been working on. I've been trying to participate more. But this was always me. And in like math class, I remember back in like fourth, fifth grade, sixth grade, like if I was stuck on this like problem, we had all of the students were like working on their computers, and then the teacher was just up front, and then you could just ask the teacher if you needed help. So anyone could ask. It was just free reign. Like we just sit there for an hour and the teacher would sit there. It was mostly quiet, but sometimes, I mean, kids would ask for help. And I was the kid that I would have a problem that's like, all right, I really don't know how to do this, but I didn't want to be the one to ask the teacher because I wanted to be able to solve it myself, because I have that, I guess, ego, you could say, is like, oh, I should be able to do this myself. So I would sit there and stare at that problem for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, the exact same problem. And I knew logically, like, I'm never going to get this right. And I knew, yeah, I should probably ask the teacher, but like, no, I need the teacher to think that I'm like independent and hardworking, and I need my ego to know that, yeah, I'm such an independent hard worker. So I would just sit there and stare at the problem, never ask for help. And then the teacher would come up to me and like see that my screen was still the same for the past 20 minutes, and he'd be like, Tristan, do you need help on this? And I'm like, yeah. So then he'd help me, and it'd take like 10 seconds. I was like, oh, thanks. And then the cycle just continues, and I just keep not asking for help because I just had that ego in myself. I had that dog in me. I was like, man, I should be able to do this by myself. So I can't let anyone see that I'm weak and asking for help. And that mindset has kind of carried over to me now. And even little things like, I don't know, let's say I'm at the table and like I need this like sauce. It's like across the table, and I don't want to ask my family, yo, hello, can you pass this sauce, please? Like, I'll just get up from the table, walk all the way around, get the sauce from the other side, and then walk back because I don't want to ask for help. And I think if you ask for help too much, there's people who like are just lazy and just like, hey, yeah, can you do this for me, please? Oh yeah, hey, can you bring that over for me? Oh, can you submit this document for me? Oh, can you email that person for me? Like, and I kind of really hate those people. So maybe that's why I'm so extreme on the other side, because I just hate when people ask me to do something that they can clearly do themselves in like 10 seconds. Like that just pisses me off so much. It's like, why are you asking me to do this? Like, you're able to just do this in 10 seconds. And it's not like something, you know, like if someone asks, oh, can you get that water for me? That, yeah, sure. Like, I don't care about that. But it's something where like, I don't know, let's say we have a group project, like we're discussing the project and we have to email the teacher with our outline. That person has his computer open. His email is open. None of the other people have their computer open. And he's like, oh, hey, can you send the teacher the email about the project? And I'm like, bro, your computer's right. Your email is open. You're literally, the teacher's email is typed in. Why are you asking me? And he's like, just do it. And I'm like, bro, what? Like, I guess that's a reason why I'm so on the other side. But again, don't be on that extreme of asking people for help with just useless things. And that's just laziness. I don't think that's a problem with asking for help. That's just pure laziness. But if you need help, like I was, if you're that kid in math class who has his ego saying, oh, you should be able to solve this yourself, but you don't ask the teacher for help, just ask for help. Because that's going to allow you to learn faster. Just force yourself, put your ego down and be like, yeah, we don't know this. This is, even if it's an easy problem, we didn't pay attention enough, I guess. So let's just ask the teacher. Now, another story. This is the Chick-fil-A story. So a while back, a couple months ago, I was at Chick-fil-A. I was just working on my essay, and it was pretty dead. So there was a bunch of open tables, and I didn't buy anything. I just kind of sat down there and started working. So technically, like, I guess I was supposed to buy something, but that will come into play later. And like, I guess 30 minutes into when I was working, this lady came over. She was working. She was like, oh, do you need any water? I can get you some. And I was like
dying of thirst. I was like thinking, oh my God, I'm really thirsty right now. But I was like, oh, no, 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 it's okay. Like, you don't have to do that. And she was like, oh, are you sure? I can just get you a cup of water right now. And I was like, no, 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 don't worry about it. And in my mind, I was screaming like, bro, what are you doing? We're so thirsty. Please just get the water. But I had that sense of like, well, there's no, why would someone just help me for free? And it was just that stupid like ego thing. She was just trying to be nice, but my ego was like, no, 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 like you should have bought something first. And I guess I should have. I guess maybe there's some truth to that. But I was really thirsty, and I ended up not getting water that whole time. So it was free, and she was just offering it to me because she was just a kind person, and I rejected that help because of my beliefs, my ego's beliefs of you have to be independent. And I contemplated that. I was like, maybe this belief, like, I think it served me well. I think being independent is definitely a very good trait, and being able to do things yourself and not being one of those people who are like, yo, can you send the email when his email's open? But just having that trait of being able to accept help when you need it, that's also valuable. Because if you go through life, you're the lone Sigma wolf and you don't ask for help for anyone, you're not going to get nearly as far as you would if there are literally people asking you if they can help you and you're like, no, I need to be this cool lone wolf individual. I'm not accepting help from anyone. And it just hinders you. Maybe it feeds your ego, but you know logically that you're not reaching your full potential if you just gotten help from someone. So I think that's a very important lesson to learn, and something I'm still working on. All these lessons are things that I'm not perfect at. These are just things that I see in myself that are flaws, and maybe you relate and maybe you don't, but these are just the lessons I put for myself and things that I'm trying to work on. So that was learn to say no and yes. Okay, this module is called Action Over Inaction, and I think this is one of the biggest lies that the modern world has sold us. So a lot of people say like, oh, you should take time to do nothing and, reset your dopamine. So what do? You just take a day off and you're like, all right, today I'm going to take care of myself. I'm not going to do anything today. I'm just going to sit around and, just do things that make me happy per se. But let me tell you, this is the thing that causes ruts. Because let's say you do take one of these days off and then you go through the whole day and you have some work to do, but you're like, oh, it's due in a while, so today I'll just take a rest day so I can fully recharge. So you sleep in super late, you wake up at like 1 p.m. and then you eat some random comfort food, and then you just kind of sit around. Maybe you watch a little bit of TV, and then maybe, I don't know, eat more junk food. And then the time comes to go to bed, it's like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and you just don't want to go to bed because you didn't really do anything today. So the day felt like it just went by. You woke up and now you're going to bed. So then you ruin your sleep schedule even more. So you go to bed at like 3 a.m. because you're like, oh, I'll just play some video games to like help me unwind and help me fall asleep. So then you do that, and then the next day you wake up at like 2 p.m. and you're like, well, the work is due like still in a while, so I'll just take another rest day, and this day this is what's going to fully recharge me, and then I'll be back and up and ready to go. And then this cycle just continues, and then this inaction puts you in a massive rut because you have no momentum going forward. Because if you just did a little bit of work, then you would have started to get momentum, but you chose to trust the lie that says like sitting around is what causes relaxation and like refocusing your efforts, and you'll be able to focus better later. And people put this under the blanket of a dopamine detox. They're like, okay, well, when you're in this relaxation state, don't go on your phone and just look at social media all day, like do like things that are non-stimulating. And maybe that's a little better, but still, like when I'm sitting around like doing nothing, it after that session, like me personally, I can just sit there and like think for like hours. And after that, I come out of that thinking, okay, I was just daydreaming. That was not productive at all. And I feel terrible after I do that. And I didn't check my phone. I didn't watch random, like, social media scroll on TikTok and Instagram. I just sat there thinking. But what happens when you think and just sit there? Obviously, negative thoughts come. That's just how humans are programmed. We have way more negative thoughts than positive thoughts. That's just how people are, like, that's how people operate at the baseline level. So there's a quote in the Bible that says, idle hands are the devil's workshop, meaning that when you sit around and you're not doing anything productive, you're not creating anything, that's when the devil can get to you. That's when you are tempted to sin and, I'm just sitting around wasting my life. Might as well go take drugs or drunk drive because I can get some dopamine. Like, if you have no purpose, no reason to go throughout your day, like to create something, you're just going to sit there and you're just going to rot in bed. Like, how many of you have heard the self-care, oh, take a day off, just sit in bed all day and, get some nice food and, take a rest day and the next day you'll be up and ready. Well, guess what? If you do that, you're just literally killing your brain. That's not relaxation. So my lesson here is only do nothing when you actually want to do nothing, because chances are you're just using that as an excuse to procrastinate. So this is just some random picture of me and my friends. Like, we're just doing just random, like, stuff because we're bored. And, like, it's way better to just go out and do something random, even if it's not even productive. Just go on a walk, or just read some random book. That's way better than just sitting around thinking of the massive comeback you're gonna make after this relaxation break. Just get up and just go outside and do something, anything. That's better than sitting around and thinking about, like, what you could be doing, because that is what leads to massive ruts, terrible, depression, anxiety. Because if you're just sat there thinking of everything else, like everyone else is doing, you're just gonna get depressed. So just do anything. Like, I have a list of things I didn't put in the slide, but it's just a list of, like, productive things, and it's like I don't know, journal, go for a walk, read a random book, like drive to some random cafe, or go to the mall and like talk to random people or something. Like, you can literally do anything, and that's better than doing nothing. Because if you, let's say you have this work task you're supposed to be doing, and if you're not going to do it, just admit it to yourself. Because, like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, well, I'll do it, like, later, and when I have more energy after I relax. But just, if you know you're not going to do it, just admit, okay, like, I'm being a weak little boy right now, so I'm just not going to do this task. But then once you make that decision, you're in a much better place, because then you can fully focus on whatever else that you're going to do, and you accept the consequences. Like, okay, I'm not doing this work task right now because I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go hang out with this friend instead. But if you stay in the middle and you're like, well, yeah, I'll maybe do that work task today, then you feel guilty about doing anything else, because you can't even enjoy the thing that you're going to do. Like, even if you take a walk, you're like, oh, is this walk even productive? Like, I should be working on that assignment right now. Well, yeah, I'll do it later. But then you can't even enjoy that walk you're doing. So just admit to yourself when you're going to be not doing anything. And when you take that action, like, just admit, okay, I'm not going to be working on this thing right now because I'm going to be doing something else. Because that's how you're actually going to go through life presently, and not having this constant anxiety in the back of your head. And another lie that the world has told us is that this relaxation will give us more energy. Like, the more you lie around, the more energy you'll have to complete tasks, like, later. But this is a lie, because people think, okay, exercise leads to tiredness, and then relaxation leads to energy. But think about it. when are you going to feel more energized? Let's say you have a day, you wake up late and then you eat breakfast and then you kind of just sit around and then watch TV for 3 hours. And then after that, you have like this massive sports competition later that night versus the guy who wakes up, maybe eats the same breakfast even, but then he goes out and starts doing like stretches and he socializes and he maybe does a light workout and runs a little bit and, does more stretches. And then they have that same sports competition. Who's going to be more prepared? Who's going to have more energy? If you're thinking like logically, okay, rest equals energy, then you're going to say, okay, the first person because he had the whole day to rest. But then intuitively, that doesn't really check out because intuitively, wait, the guy who was preparing, even though he was technically, he's consuming more energy, he's getting more tired because he's already using energy before the sports competition. But no, he's just going to be way better prepared. His mind's going to be sharper. His body's going to be able to react faster. So the lesson here is that exercise and doing things, moving your body, that is what gives you more energy, not sitting around. Like if you take one thing from this, relaxation, sitting around does not equal boost in energy. And that's all for this module. All right. Welcome to the final module of Volume 1 of the Life Philosophy course. If you made it this far, respect goes to you. You're pursuing things that you can't be taught in school, things that you can only learn with other people who are like-minded as you are. And that's the best way to learn, is just have a community of people who think in the same way as you, and you can learn from each other's mistakes. So the final lesson I want to share with you it's called It's Not As Bad As You Think. Now, when I was a kid, I was convinced that I had brain cancer. Maybe I might. I never got it checked out, but it's been like 5-8 years and I think I'm okay. But yeah, I used to get headaches like a lot, pretty much every single day, it was kind of weird for me being that young. I was like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and I would get headaches every single day. And I looked up the symptoms online as my little 10-year-old self would do, and I would get so scared every single day. I was like, oh my God, like I have brain cancer. But I was too scared to like tell my parents I need to get it checked out. So, they knew, but I mean, how Asian parents are, like they don't want to go to the doctor unless it's the very last moment and you're literally, your arm's falling off. But yeah, so I would get headaches every single day. And I remember one time in like my biology class back in like 5th grade, we were watching a video on like this guy who, it was like a brain surgery or something. And it was pretty like unfiltered. Like it was pretty crazy that we were watching that in 5th grade. But yeah, then as I was watching that, I was like so scared. I was like, oh my God, wait, this guy said he had headaches. I have headaches too, so I must have brain cancer. So at the end of the class, I was like shaking because I wanted to ask the teacher. I remember this exact sentence I was thinking. It was, if you have headaches, does that automatically mean that you have brain cancer? And I was so scared I was going to ask her, but I didn't even end up asking her because I didn't want the truth of whether or not I had it, because like knowing I had it would be scarier than thinking I had it, at least to me back then, which, I was like 10 years old, so don't blame me. But yeah, I don't really get headaches anymore, and I think it was literally just because of stress, because of the headaches, and I just started drinking more water, and yeah, that was literally it. Like in middle school, it literally just cleared up, and I kind of forgot about it. And nowadays, I have headaches like once every 2 weeks, once a month, so it's not bad at all. But yeah, when you look up these things, and us being like overthinkers and oh my God, they need to critically analyze this pain and see what it is. And then you start going down the rabbit hole of like, oh my God, I have brain cancer, I have lung infection, I have ear infection, my legs have to be amputated. And then that weighs on your mind. But let me tell you, this has happened to me, and it's probably happened to you probably 20, 30, 50 times over your life, maybe even more. And you have this random like pain and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die soon. And let me just tell you, like, it's not as bad as you think. Even if it is, it's still not as bad as you think. nowadays we have a lot more knowledge on what kind of, diseases there are. And I can't believe I'm lecturing on like diseases. This is like a philosophy course, but yeah, just don't worry, because it's the pain or whatever like you're going through, it's probably not as bad, and you can probably fix it by just drinking more water or being healthier, improving your mental health, because your mental health like is directly correlated to your physical health. Like stress is the number one cause of like it pretty much can cause any like sickness like ever. So try not to be stressed. I mean, that's easier said than done, but just, do things that take care of your mental health. I feel like a therapist, but yeah, I remember, or literally like 2 days ago, I was looking at my teeth, and like I had gotten fillings done, because I had some cavities when I was like 7 years old or something. But then those fillings don't last for a lifetime. They come out after like 5 or 10 years. So they came out, and like I have these. I'm going to the dentist like in a couple of weeks, but I am gonna get them like refilled. But then I saw this like indent in the side of my tooth, and it was weird because usually you have cavities on the crevice, like on the top. And I saw this indent on the side, and I was like, holy crap, wait, what is this? And I got one of the metal picks the dentists use, and then I just started like scraping stuff away, and like some like white stuff came out, and then like a literal hole, like there's a literal hole in the side of my tooth. It's not that big, but like I could put the scraper thing like in it like a couple millimeters, and I was like, oh my god, wait. And then I asked ChatGPT like, wait, is this bad? Like I have a hole. And then ChatGPT was like, man, this is actually bad, you're screwed. And I was like, oh my god, no. But then I just did a little more research, and I probed ChatGPT, and I was like, yeah, it's not that deep, it doesn't hurt at all. And then ChatGPT was like, oh, thanks for telling me. Yeah, it's not even that bad, just go get it checked out and they'll fill it up, and yeah, it's not bad at all. But yeah, I got scared for a second. I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have like nerve damage, and like they're gonna have to replace my tooth maybe. But no, it's just a small cavity, like and I'm gonna get that filled in soon. And I used to think like cavities were like, I don't know, like animal or like like small like black like things that dig into your teeth, but then like I realized as I got older it's just a hole. And yeah, but anyway, we're getting off track. I've talked about brain surgery and dentistry in this module, but yeah, this is just the last module. I just want to give you some hope. If you're an overthinker like I am, like, don't worry too much. Obviously, if there's like a serious pain, don't just leave it there and you're like, oh, Levi told me to not do anything, so I'm just gonna not tell anyone about this. Like, if there's something that is causing like, some discomfort or worry, then first I think ChatGPT is actually a pretty good tool, because you can tell it exactly what you're feeling, and like it's not going to automatically assume you have the worst case scenario like WebMD here. But yeah, just don't worry too much, because it's probably not that serious. Every single time I've thought I was going to die or had to have surgery, I've never had surgery in my life. Like, it's not that serious. I'm pretty fine as a person. So yeah, that's the final lesson. I thank you for sticking with me in this life philosophy course. There will be new modules released soon, volume 2. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.
That was my full life philosophy guide. If you made it all the way to the end, you have my respect. You probably have a top 1% attention span out of everyone in the world. My Instagram is in the description down below, so message me there if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.